Hey folks, welcome to a new Master at the Riff. For this lesson, I'm going to be looking at Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. Absolute classic riff. There's a couple of things I want to talk about before actually looking at the notes that we're going to play. One is the tone, the guitar tone. It's one of those famous songs for people asking, how did you get that sound? How did you get that tone? And really, it's a result of, in the studio, they mic'd up the amp with different mics that were slightly out of phase, and it gave this kind of slightly kind of boxy sound, because basically what they were after was like a ZZ Top vibe with this tune. That's why it's got that kind of sound to it, the kind of hollow, boxy, kind of distorted kind of guitar. So I've tried to emulate that when I was doing the quick demonstration at the start of the video there, and now I'm just using one microphone, for it won't quite sound the same. But if you wanted to try and get the same tone, you could use a wah-wah pedal and put it in a kind of half-cocked position, so you've got that kind of hollow aw kind of sound to it. And that's how Martin Knopfler does it live now. Obviously he's using a Les Paul for this, because again, that kind of Billy Gibbons ZZ Top vibe. But if you roll the tone off a little bit, so I'm in the bridge humbucker and I just roll the tone off a little bit, just to kind of give that kind of hollow kind of sound to it. And I've seen Martin Knopfler use a bridge pickup or in the middle two pickups as well, just to get a little bit more of that kind of out of phase kind of thing going on. So that's the kind of tone of it. I mean, I'm not too worried about it. Obviously, if you don't have a wah-wah, or don't have two mics to record and all that sort of stuff, it doesn't really matter. But just a little insight in how the sound was captured for the recording. The other thing I want to talk about is we're going to be using our right hand for this, and I'll talk about the details when we look at the notes in the riff. But Martin Knopfler plays with these fingers. Predominantly, what we're going to be doing is playing the D and the G strings, and we're going to be alternating between using our thumb and using our index and middle finger to pluck them, kind of on the upstroke, or the upbeat, should I say. So if you wanted to just kind of practice that sensation with the right hand before getting into the riff, what you could do is just kind of count a rhythm that goes 1, 2, 3 and 4, and so I would do down with the thumb and the 2, and then I would do thumb, thumb, like that. So it's 3 and 4 and 1. Yeah, or you could mute the strings. Okay, because that's kind of the movement we're going to be using in this riff. An 8-bar riff we've got, so we'll do the usual. We'll break it down into kind of the usual phrases. So the first phrase goes like this. Okay, now this comes in after a kind of big build-up. So the song builds up, builds up, builds up, and then pow comes in with a riff. No band, just the guitar on its own. So that's a good kind of impact to it. But the very first note, rhythmically, what we're playing here is something that kind of goes 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, and that 1's kind of this little extra note at the end, but you've got this kind of 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Now, this is where this kind of all ties in with the right hand. The very first note that we play in beat 1 is just kind of like a noise. It sounds almost like a harmonic at the 5th fret, the D string. But really it's almost just more of a rhythmical kind of noise, like that. Because what Martin Knopfler's doing is he's kind of playing this. He's playing on the beat 1 with the thumb, beat 2 with the thumb, and then always with the thumb in the beat, it goes 3 and 4 and the ands are basically plucking the D and the G strings with the index and middle finger, respectively, like that, okay? So kind of the first little phrase, you play that beat 1, 5th fret, kind of D string harmonic. Then you play your first little chord, which is in beat 2. And what I'm doing here is I'm 5th fret the D string with the first finger, and then 3rd finger's playing the 7th fret the G string. And I pluck that down the way with my thumb, like that. Okay, so that goes 1, 2, and then you have this. Okay, and what I'm doing here is I'm going to be I'm playing like taking my 3rd finger off and then putting it back on. I start with on, off, back on again, and that's like your 3 and 4. like that. So you go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and in the and of beat 4 you go. And play now. I keep my bar going across the D and the G strings at the 5th fret, and my second finger plays 6th fret in the B string. And what I do is I pluck the G and the B strings with the index and middle finger and let that ring. Okay, so it kind of goes 1, 2, 3, and 4, and okay. And then this very last note, which is kind of one of the next bar, but it's best to think of this as one whole phrase. So it goes. My thumb just plays this 8th fret of the D string with my pinky is playing that note there. But you don't want that to sound too loud. It's almost like this. Just because he's Mark Knopfler's hand is playing this kind of rhythm, he just kind of hits that note. Okay, so that's your first phrase. The little phrase goes like this. Okay, so it's kind of weird this because we've got little double notes, but what I'm starting off with is our G power chord again, so 5th fret D string, 7th fret the G string. I play that with the thumb. So if you think of pairings here, that's kind of on the beat, so I play it with the thumb. I take the 3rd finger off, so I'm just barring the 5th fret now at the G and G strings, and I pluck that with the index and middle finger. So you're always kind of doing this, you know, beat with the thumb, the 2 strings, and then plucking up for the offbeat, the and, 1 and 2 and, like that. So this kind of goes. That's your first 2 notes. Second 2 notes, you pluck 5th fret again, barred with a thumb, move down 2 frets and play the 3rd fret, the D and G string barred, and I pluck that with the index and middle finger. So that kind of goes. Okay. Now from here, I've just done this. Pull off to the open D and G strings and then play them open like that. So it's tricky to kind of play that as a pair, but if I put it from this bit like that, okay. So I'm doing my 5th with the thumb, plucking up in the 3rd, pull off, and then I play it up with the index and middle finger again. And then I end it off by playing a percussive thumb down in the D and G strings, just kind of muting the strings. Okay, and that's again like the first beat of the next bar, but it's just kind of the way the rhythmical section's kind of laid out. So slowly that goes. Yeah, a little bit again. Next phase goes like this. Okay, so what I start off with here is I'm going to play the open D, G strings. And that's kind of down with the thumb again. Or you can pluck it up, pluck it with the index and middle as well actually. And as long as it doesn't throw your rhythm off. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to play like 3rd fret of the D and G strings again with the 1st finger. And then what I do is I play this D string with the thumb and then the index finger. I'm playing kind of 2 notes, that's the kind of rhythm. But what you hear is the D string being open, and then the next note is more of a kind of muted open D string, so it's more of a percussive thing again. Like that. You could mute all and just have that same rhythm there. You know, Mark Knopfler doesn't play it exactly the same way every single time, you know. Then the next bit what I'm going to do is play a B flat power chord. So 1st fret A string, 3rd fret D, and then my pinky's playing the 3rd fret the G string. And I hit the chord, and what I do is I pluck the A, D and G strings with the thumb, index and middle finger. Let it ring and then slide up. And then there's space there, that's your rest. And then once I've had that rest, I pluck the 5th fret, where my 3rd and 4th finger is basically, pluck that with the index and middle finger, so just the D and G strings. So I kind of, and then I play this at the end of it. So what I'm doing is going back to my B flat power chord, I'm hitting all 3 strings, A, D, G strings, then open D and G string. Okay, and then after that, as usual, I've got this little percussive sound, but it ends up being back up here, kind of the 5th fret of the D string, and it sounds again like that, kind of like the start of the riff. the D string kind of 5th fret harmonic, just a little kind of percussive sound. Yeah, so that whole phrase goes like this. Yeah, and that's that little percussive thing. Again, I play it with the thumb. Yeah, and it's good to practice that as the unit, just to kind of get the rhythmical feel. So one more time. So the next phrase sounds like this. Okay. Now what I'm doing here is, if I split it into 2 bits, the first section goes like this. Okay. Now what I'm doing here is go back to our usual G power chord. I'm going to play it with the thumb and the beat. Then I play it again, take the 3rd finger off, pluck with index and middle, and then back with the 3rd finger on and I hit it twice. So it's thumb and then pluck. Okay, so it kind of goes thumb, like that. Okay. Next bit goes, that's kind of 4 notes there, but what I'm doing is I'm playing 5-7 G power chord, and then I'm going to pluck, moving up to the 8th fret of the B string with the pinky, and I pluck the G and the B strings there, still holding the 3rd finger down though. So it kind of goes, so it goes like that. Okay. And then what I do is I take my 3rd finger off, I pluck the D and G strings at the 5th fret barred, and then I put the 3rd finger on and pluck those D and G strings. So you have this thing that goes, that's kind of what the little melody note's doing. Yeah. Okay. And then the next bit goes, just start going down the strings again. So I play my 5th fret D and G strings barred just with the 1st finger. Thumb plays that. I go down 2 frets and pluck with the index and middle. As I pull off again. Then I play open D and G strings. And then I have a little percussive sound after that. Okay. So that last bit kind of goes. Okay. So if I take it from this bit, it goes. Okay. So the whole thing goes. Our last phrase goes like this. Okay. So again, we're starting with our kind of open D and G strings, just like we did in kind of bar 3. You can play that with thumb or pluck up. I prefer to kind of use the index and middle finger there, just for a little bit extra attack. Then what I'm going to do is do a pull off with my 1st finger 3 to 0 on the G string, and then play open D string. Fingering wise, I use like my index finger and play the D string with the thumb. Sometimes if, you know, looking at footage of Mark Knopfler playing it now, he may actually have been thinking more of like a kind of more of the chord, so you're barring at the D and G string at the 3rd fret. You know, it doesn't matter. As I said, you know, Mark Knopfler's not going to play it exactly the same way twice, so you could thicken up the sound a little bit if you want and play it like that. But in the recording, original recording, it sounds more like a 3-0. And then the last bit goes like this. So what I'm doing here is playing like an F power chord going to a G power chord, but it's a little inverted way of playing it. So I'm barring the 3rd fret of the A and the D string, and I pluck up again there, but you could use your thumb. Then I slide up, little rest, and then I pluck it again. Yeah, so you get a really nice kind of, funny enough, little ZZ Top kind of sounding kind of riff. Okay, so that whole last phrase again goes. Plenty of vibrato in that last chord as well. So there you go, that's the riff. Basically we play that twice before the verse starts. And there is very subtle kind of variations, but as I said throughout the video, basically, you know, if you watch Mark Knopfler playing it live, you'll see him do different things each time. The main gist of the riff, if you get that down, then everyone's going to recognise, you know, what it is. It's just the very nature of this kind of type of riff, where there's lots of percussive little kind of sounds and things going on, that you can add your own kind of rhythmical touch or groove to it, you know. And just watch out, you know, if you've not used to kind of playing just with the fingers, as I said at the very start of the video, you know, have a little practice of just playing those D and G strings, just make up little riffs with it. And you know, mute the strings and practice that kind of muting percussive kind of sound to it as well. Because that's essentially what Mark Knopfler's doing over the verses in Money for Nothing as well. It's just a little, this little muted, kind of subdued, kind of rhythm guitar part. Okay, so hope you enjoy that. As usual, check out Facebook page, Twitter feeds, and of course the website is back. It's all shiny and new, and all the riffs and everything that I've done are on there with tabs. So if you're looking for tabs in any of the riffs that you see in YouTube, just go to the website and have a little search, and you should be able to find the tabs and stuff for them. Okay, so until next time, have fun.